Hello and welcome, developers. My name is Shay, and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Today, we're going to be talking about the if-else statement in Java. And it's a way to do something based off of the expression that you get. And the expression is going to be like a true or false value. So if it evaluates to true, we do one thing. If it evaluates to false, we can do another. And that's really how this works. It's pretty basic, but you can do a lot with it. All right, so let's get a Boolean value, and we'll set 1 to true, and we'll set 1 to false. So if bool, so it's testing if this is true within these parentheses right here. So the word bool is our Boolean value is true. So it's going to run whatever code that we have between our code block right here, right? So I'm just going to output something to the screen saying this is true. So if we go ahead and run this, we're going to get this is true right down here within our terminal window, right? So, but say if it's not true, it's going to move down to the next line, and if something was down here, we're like this is the end, and we'll set this to bool 2, that's false. It's going to bypass the if statement because it's false, so therefore it's not going to output what's within our code block, and it's going to go ahead and just output this is the end. But say we wanted to test even more things, right? We could use an else if and then put in our statement that we want to evaluate. Say we want to evaluate bool this time, and else if is true. We can run that, and that's what it's going to print out. Else if is true, and then this is the end, because this is the end comes afterwards, so it's always going to be outputted. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that, and we're going to focus back on the if else statement. So you can see though, bool is still true, so therefore that's what gets outputted to the command or to the terminal, because we changed bool, the bool 2, to false, which is what we're looking for here in the first if statement. So because it's false, it's going to be, let's say it gets skipped over. We can actually look for the opposite of true, and we can look for false with this exclamation point symbol, which means not. So if it's not true, output this is true. So that's a little backwards, but this is going to work. See, this is true, and it's because bool 2 is not true, it's false. So hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, and then we got one more conditional to check out, and that's just the else. So if neither one of these evaluates to true, as far as what it's looking for is true, then it'll run in this last piece in the else block. So let's go ahead and output this is the else. So what'll happen is, let's go ahead and take that out, and we're going to make sure both of our booleans are false, so we can make sure we're running that else statement right here. And it says this is else, and we got straight. We got this is else. So we can actually test if multiple things are true and false with operators or and. So let's talk about the or operator. So the or operator is indicated by the double pipe symbol, and then we add another expression, so just the first bool. So what's going to happen is if bool 2 or bool either one of those evaluates to true, it's going to output this is true. So we can do that. So we have one false and one true. We can go ahead and output this. You're going to see this is true. And then we have one other operator. That's called the AND. So that means both bool2 and bool values have to evaluate to true in order for this to work. So right now, if this works, or if we output this, it's going to put else if is true. It's because it's going to bypass the first one because not both of these are true. And not bad there. And then bool is true, so therefore it's going to output what's in the code block of the else if. So let's go ahead, like I said, run that. We got else if is true. All right, so let's make things a little more complicated, right? Let's use an int x equals 12 and int y equals 13. Let's go ahead and comment that out and create another if statement. So we can actually do if x is greater than y. And you can do this because the output of x is greater than y will be a Boolean, and we can actually see that x is greater than y before we even test our if then or if else statements. Sometimes you'll see them as if then, but there's no then in Java. But as you can see here, we get false. So that is a true statement that x is less than y, because x is 12, y is 13, right? So we can see that evaluates to false. So we'll do x is not greater, or x is greater than y. Then we can do else if y is greater than x. That's not what I meant to do there. Just hold on that for right now. But we'll do y is greater than x. Then output what we're going to do there. And then on our last one, we could do else neither x or y is greater. And basically that's just saying, hey, if they're equal to each other, then it's going to print out the else. So we, instead of doing that, we could have done like double equals or something like that. Or if they're not equal, we could do the not symbol, which is the exclamation point followed by the equal sign. These are called like operators, and we'll get into those not in this video, but in another video. So if you're a little confused by them, don't worry, we'll play around with them some more. And there's a lot of information on the internet as well. All right, so based off of what we have here, we know that y is greater than x. So this else if is going to output. So we can go ahead and test that to make sure that's true. And we've got y is greater than x. But if we were to change x to 13 and y to 13, it's going to output on the else. Neither x or y is greater, because neither one of these two evaluated to true. You can also do greater than or equal to, but if we do that, it's going to output the first one. X is greater than y. Because instead of testing to see if it's greater than or equal to, and then obviously 13 is equal to 13. So let's go ahead and erase that part. Now, these if-else statements can get a little tricky. Let me show you one that is tricky. So let's go ahead and change this x and y. Let's make this one let's make x 0. We're going to do if x plus plus is greater than 0. We're going to output x is greater than 0. And we won't do an else. We'll do another if statement, and we'll kind of do the opposite. X equals to 2. X is equal to 2. All right, now, by looking at this, if you don't know what this double plus means, it means just add 1 to the value of x and then save it back into itself. So because x is 0, if you do x plus plus, x will now be 1. It'll add 1 and then save it back into itself. But because of the way that this works, as far as testing if this is true or false, you're going to be, I think, a little surprised. You might actually think that this should turn into 1 and then check, hey, is 1 greater than 0? And that would be true, right? But that's not how this is. It doesn't actually work that way. Instead, it's going to first test if x is greater than 0, which it is not, and then it's going to add 1 to it. And that's actually going to be false. And I'll show you that here in just a second as soon as we run it. So the next part, what do you think might happen here? We're actually adding 1. It's the same thing as this, it's just reversed. But we're actually adding 1 to x before we test if it's equal to 2. And by the way, the double equals means we're testing if it's equal to. If we just had a single equals, it means we would be setting x equal to 2, but you can see we're getting an error here because you can't do it this way, right? So let's go ahead and see what happens. So as you can see, nothing got printed. X is greater than 0 did not get printed out, so it did not evaluate to 1 first, and so it's still 0. And then x equals 2 is definitely equal to 2, so we output 2. I know that's might be a little difficult to understand, but it's kind of like the order of operations, right? In math, and Java does things in a specific way, right to left. And you'll find more examples of this as you continue on with your development career, but I just wanted to show this that you might expect one thing and then get a totally different answer, and so you have to be careful as far as what you're looking at. All right, so the last thing you might see as far as if-else statements, and these aren't exactly like a shorthand for them, but they're another way of kind of getting what you want, and that is a ternary operator. So ternary operator is one line. Well, it doesn't have to be one line, but it was pretty much one line that returns a value where we're testing if something's true or false or not, and then based on if that thing is true or false, we are giving a value to a variable. So let's go ahead and let's do int num equals 0. We'll do another boolean. Actually, we don't really need to do that. We can just use the ones we got. Let's just go ahead and make sure I set it here so we can just mess with it easily. And we'll do num equals. And the first part of this statement is the fact that we're returning something. So we're going to save it into the DUM. So we're going to return an integer. Now you can return a string, an integer, a double, whatever it is, an object, but it's got to be something, right? So we're going to test if bool is true. And then we're going to do if it's true. So that's what this right here means. It's like it's the first part of the testing sequence. So if it's true, it's going to do the thing after the question mark. And if it's false, it's going to do the thing after the colon. So if it's true, num is going to be 1. And if it's false, num is going to be 2. So let's say we made this a string, but now we're getting an error because we're trying to save it into an integer data type, and well, we don't have an integer data type, we have a num data type. So let's go ahead and change that back. So because it's true though, if we output num, we are going to get num equals 1. Let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. We got 1 right here, which is what we expected. So let's go ahead and change bool to false. Run that again. And now we get 2. And that's a ternary operator. So like I said though, if we wanted to do like strings or something like that, output a string, we could do string b. Actually no, I think we already used b. This is u equals, and that makes no sense, but whatever, string. Or actually, let's make it not make it equal anything. We'll just do string u. So we'll do u. We'll do yes and no. And then we'll output u. And go ahead and run that and see how we get no, because bool is false. Alright guys, that's all I'm going to be talking about on if-else statements for now. We'll probably go into this more in detail whenever I start writing like full-blown programs for you guys, and then start going over those. But for now, hopefully just play around with this, see how it works. I'm going to say it's a pretty simple concept. Like I said, if it's true, you do one thing. If else, you can do another. Then else, you do nothing, or you don't have to do anything at all. So say, remember how we bypassed, like, if because this isn't greater than 0, we just bypass this whole chunk of code. Now we could have like an else down here that did some other stuff, but we don't actually necessarily need that. So like I said, play around, see what you guys come up with. Let me know if this was kind of, I feel like this was a bit of a convoluted recording, but let me know in the comments how you guys are doing, what you're trying to learn, what you're trying to do, how can I help you do that. And that's what I'm here for. I really want to just help you guys, listen, help myself as well by learning this stuff and teaching it to you guys in an understandable way. Alright, but look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Hopefully, so you'll stick around. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.